Hello, everyone, and welcome back to DCI Fight Week. Today is my day on Wednesday, and my four shows are Madison Scouts 95, Carolina Crown 2019, Blue Devils 2011, and Bluecoats 2016. Let's start off first with the first place winner, Bluecoats 2016. I love the show. I love the use of textures that they put just scattered everywhere around. Like, especially the first thing that comes to mind is the all of the rim work and like light, tasteful buzzing things that they put in all the snare breaks. I really like that. Also, just the big power you have with those, like, with every hit, they just have so much energy and power. The screamer in the ballad when he winks afterwards at the camera, that's a great moment. It's just iconic. There's just so many good things about this show. And it was finally time for Bluecoats to win a show. And it was well deserved too.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you also can't forget two of the other main like superstars of that show. Ben Gunnarsson, he was the other trumpet soloist, and also Samuel Crawford, the amazing drum major that everybody that wants to conduct should know and love, because he's one of the best conductors out there. And I like, by talking with him, he says like all those shows he got to conduct were just an amazing experience. But in Bluecoats, just not many people have ever seen like a show started that way with and it's like starting with just clapping and front ensemble, and the whole entire brass line is dancing out in the middle of the field, and everyone just like, when's it happening? And then it just starts joining with ensemble, just each part joins in, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I absolutely love whenever a show has all of their members of like the brass line just run out from behind a prop. Like when they did it 2016 in Down Side Up, when they did it in Ghostlight 2019, it's just all of those moments, they're just so magical. Like, you see, and you know what's coming too. You know that they're going to bring the heat with their brass, and it's just great.
That's sort of what Tarpon does. We usually hide behind props, and then we like enter, and then we have a giant hit. We didn't do it for Revolution Remix, but we usually go behind a prop because it does have a really cool effect. Every other show, Mitchell, Madness, Pandora, like all those shows, we started behind a prop. But Revolution, yeah, I'm not gonna list every show.
They do it most.
Well, whatever. So, like, we usually start behind props because it's just a really cool effect, and it does great things like Bluecoats did that year. Just even though they didn't play yet and they were just dancing, pretty cool effect. Isaac.
Okay, so Gavin knows when 2016 finals was done, my friend Christian and I, shout out to him if he's watching, he's probably not, it's alright. We were talking about just like old DCI and like just talking about DCI and whatever. And then Gavin comes up, and then we start talking about DCI a whole bunch. We start talking about the Bluecoats show, and that's when Gavin and I decided to start learning the Bluecoats show together and start playing on our instruments. And that was just like, for me personally, that was so cool to like find people like Christian and Gavin to share this like love of DCI with. That was so cool. But anyways, long story short, this show, I mean, it's something different. It brought something new to the table, something we haven't really seen. Starts with just the snares doing the little clapping stuff, and then they start layering piece by piece everything in, and then you can just tell every single thing that there was. They executed it on a high level, and they composed it on a high level, and everything just came together. And it was such a great show because you had so many dynamic contrasts. You had contrasting ideas, but it was such a different idea, and that's like when really the theme or the concepts of shows really kind of broke through and was like, wow, that's really amazing. Like, just watching it from start to finish, you're so intrigued in every single little detail that's going on.
I agree. Anyone else like Miles or Mitchell want to talk about it?
I do. So first of all, anytime a core is about to play Pat Metheny, they're about to throw down.
That's
Pat
fair.
Metheny song they played this time was called "The Heat of the Day." I listen to this song when I fall asleep. It's so beautiful. It's such a good piece. And then I don't really have that much to say about the ballad. It was nice, but it wasn't my favorite ballad. But once they get to the closer, it just absolutely throws down. When the trumpets start playing the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I'm like, oh my god, I love this every time. Like, it hits me by surprise every single time, and it's absolutely amazing. And then it just gets even more intense, and it's just so good. And the drum break, their whole percussion book for the closer is like stupid hard, and they played it it was really clean, but it was really hard. And I just admire their entire drum line. I love the entire show. I can't say I love the uniforms. They're interesting. I mean, it worked. They won. So I guess I can't really hate on it. But yeah, they're definitely not my favorite uniforms, but it's whatever. Overall, I absolutely love the show. And yeah.
Great Gig in the Sky is the ballad, just some Pink Floyd thrown in there. Man, I know that wasn't your favorite ballad, but it is. I like the ballad just because of how like calming it is. Just with Ben Gunnarsson playing the flugelhorn, and it's just, and then the whole hit of the ballad when everyone starts going crazy, going on the slides, hanging on the slides, and just playing, and it's just a cool effect of that show. And I like the closer so much. The closer's so strong, and if you watch like all the head cams, you can just see how like into it everybody was, and down the whole entire brass ensemble go up the slides. And it's just like a giant drum thing, like the da-na, the da-na. It's just like that. So does Mitchell have a comment?
I mean, I think it's a pretty cool show. I mean, I don't really have any qualms with it. I don't have any issues. Everything was like a typical Bluecoats. I mean, you're getting a really high-quality production every year because that's what the Bluecoats always put out.
Okay. Does Jaelyn have any comments? Did she get to watch this show?
I love the Bluecoats forever and always. That's my input.
Okay, well that's a great answer. Yeah.
Thank
Mitchell,
you.
don't start another
Mitchell,
fight.
shut up.
Okay, Owen, let's hear your next show that you want to talk about.
So the next show I want to bring up is Crown 2019, Beneath the Surface. I heard the first hit of this show, and when I say the first hit of this show, it's the first thing you hear. It's just immediately just silence, and then that ba-na, and it's just this great, just raw power in the brass. They finish their phrase out, they go into this like mini drum break, kind of like trading phrases between the brass and the drum line. It's just so good. I just love everything about it. And then the absolute clean power of that Crown brass line, just everything you expect to hear, you're just given it and so much more. I love the show so much. Like, it's one of those ones that I listen to in my spare time. Just like, if I want to put on music, I put on music and I listen to that show. Because it's just one of those ones that goes so well.
So, I have a lot to say about this show because first, I'd have to say it's the best percussion I've ever heard from Crown. Like 2017 is up there, but 2019 is just up there. It's absolutely spectacular. And the first phrase they play is incredibly hard. I know the phrase. I try to play it all the time whenever I think I've improved, but I can't. But I haven't because I still can't play that phrase. It's really hard to play, and their dynamic range with it, even with the sticks they use, which are like sledgehammers. The dynamic range with what they play is absolutely incredible. Their crescendo and decrescendo rolls, just like it's. I can't say it's perfection, but it's up there definitely. I like what they did with the front ensemble, putting it more in the field to blend in with the music. I really like that. And let's see. This is the only show where I put every single song that's in the show into my own playlist because the music is just that good. It's still not my favorite show because other shows have like better arrangements, kind of, I guess you could say. But every single song from that is beautiful. I think my favorite one is just straight up from the opening hit. It's called Temin Oblak. It's a choir arrangement. That's what it originally was, and I don't know how their director found that, but I love that they did. And let's see, their closer, the way they start off with the clapping and then going into that drum break is so unbelievably good. I love the song that they use. I love how they keep it throughout the entire closer. What else? There's just a bunch of drum fills that they have in this show that are just like absolutely perfect. Like I'm gonna get into a bunch of drum turns here for any percussionists who are listening, but there's this one part when they're near their final closing hit where they just play this like gigantic 5-lit roll, and like it just cuts through the entire stadium. And I know that because I watched them at Allentown too. I've seen most of these shows at Allentown, and like I was on the left side of the field, like near the 20, so I wasn't able to hear the core that well, but I could still hear them play that roll. Like that's how far it ripped through the field, and it was beautiful. And I don't want to go on too much of a rant about this show, but I absolutely love it. And yeah, that's how I feel about it. I can't go on for too long because it's just so good, so good.
I enjoyed the brass performance side of it, but I just didn't like the overall theme. I'm not saying this show was a terrible show. I'm just not, like, I love Carolina Crown. Their brass lines are always so strong, and I respect their brass line with, like, all my heart. But it's just, this show didn't speak to me as well as, like, all the other shows they've done. This show was sort of like a 2017 to me. It just wasn't there fully for me. And it's probably just because I like more themed shows besides, and Beneath the Surface I just didn't really connect well to. And that's just, how I connected with the show.
I actually really enjoyed this.
I think that it was a really cool show. I actually have a couple of funny stories from the first time seeing it. Given the fact that Matt Harloff works with Avon, and I know the people at Avon, I know the horn line. I know a lot of people in the horn line. They're all a big fan of Crown because that's pretty self-explanatory. I'm a big fan of Crown too, but it was at the DCI Muncie show that after the competition, after the results were announced, Crown won that specific show. And I went over and I saw Mr. Harloff, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Harloff, that was congratulations, that was a great show." It's like, that's awesome, And the drum corps geek that I am, I happen to be wearing my Blue Devils hat because it's a drum corps competition. I'm gonna wear some drum corps gear. So I do that, and then he's like, here, hey, is that a Blue Devils hat? I'm like, yes, sir, it's my favorite corps. He's like, you know what you gotta do? I'm pretty sure the Crown store is still open. You gotta go get yourself a nice Crown hat and then wear that. And I'm like, I don't know, man. We'll see. We'll see.
Or just get Boston merch.
I love the brass. And especially in the show, they deserve brass this year. I like the little the da 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 da. I don't even know. Is that from the Temin Oblak something?
Yes, it is. That whole movement.
Okay, well, yeah, I love that. I love that solo. I love that little vignette.
Music terms, whoa. I really like that specific portion of the show. And the crown, the end, how they formed the crown visually, that was super cool.
That show, though it wasn't my favorite, I do respect the music choices they did in the show. I did enjoy listening to it in Atlanta when I went. It was a great experience just to sit there and listen to them because it's a Crown brass line, so you can't really complain about it because they always do a killer performance. But it like that show was sort of like Boxiversio for me. It just like I didn't like Boxiversio. I only liked the musical choices, but I did not like SCV show this last year. I know it's completely irrelevant to this topic, but it's sort of like that. Like it didn't connect with me well. I don't know if like Jaelyn has an opinion about it, but I'd love to hear hers if she does.
I'm unopinionated.
Aw.
But I'm very sorry to disappoint.
Does
Can I talk more about it?
No.
no, move on.
You're
Move
shut
on.
up.
Move on.
I
Move
haven't
on.
gone yet.
We'll just go with I agree with Isaac.
Okay, cool. So
I wanna talk.
for me, hey, hold on. All right, so for me, I love the opener. Like Mitchell, I was at DCI Muncie. I think that was very, very.
I cannot believe that you were there, and oh my god.
Well, yeah, but we didn't know each other back then. So.
Yeah, I was chilling with my Mason homies who were drum majors.
Exactly. I was chilling with my Rockford and Broken Arrow and Brownsford kids because they were lit, bro. Just saying. Shout out to them if they're listening.
Dude, shout out to my Mason homies. Love you, Jason and David
Continue talking.
and Zach.
Oh, God.
Oh, Zach's pretty cool.
Zach's chill.
So, but yeah, anyways, so DCI Muncie, I saw them. I thought the show musically, I thought it was really incredible. For me, actually, so Rick Subel is our creative director at Tarpon, also the creative director at Crown. There was a lot of controversy over who really liked the show idea and all that stuff. For me, I thought it was kind of ingenious in a sense. It's something we never really did. Crown has started to go off this more theme in the concept ideas now, and I think that's kind of interesting and intriguing to kind of go from very storytelling kind of from Out of This World and E = MC squared.
Fantastic show.
Yes, so kind of doing more storyline into Beast and It Is and all this other stuff, so kind of doing themes. I think it's really interesting. I think obviously the guard does an incredible job. So does the brass, obviously. And again, like Miles said, the drum line really, really hit its stride. And it was really, really, really great year for them.
Does anyone else have any comments, or shall Owen move on?
Yes. I just want to talk about this. Is one part where
I can't.
Miles.
in their second movement, in their second movement, they have that part that goes put it up, and the drum line used to do this thing back when their like percussion book for the beginning was completely different, where they would play that exact same thing, but on the drums they would do the put it up, except they would headbang to it. And they would do it hard, and I managed to see that at Alexander, and it was so hilarious. I loved that, but they took it out by finals. But I always found that really funny.
Okay, Owen, please show us your next show.
All right, so moving on to the next show, Blue Devils 2011, The Beat My Heart Skipped. This show, there's a lot to this show. I really like it because of the use of motifs. They keep this one melody and they change it around in rhythms and keys and tempos, and they just keep shifting that around throughout the whole show, and I really enjoy that. Of course, there's also it has a banger of an opener, a banger of, I think, what you would call the ballad, if I'm thinking correctly. It's just a great show. It sounds great to listen to, just like in general. And it's just a really good show.
I'm on your side with this one. I love that show. It's one of my favorites. I think it's Metamorph than The Beat My Heart Skips, because it was just a great show to listen to. And when I think back to other Blue Devil shows that I did not like at all, like Ink or Felinius, I did not like those two. Just like The Beat My Heart Skipped, The Beat My Heart Skipped was a great concept and I loved it, And Mitchell, we can start another fight during this podcast, but I hated Ink. And we'll
Okay. I don't really have an opinion on that.
Exactly, so be quiet. But yeah, I think that show was great, and the ballad, as you said it, Owen. Yeah, spot on. Who else wants to hop in and attack me now?
And then continuing using there's that great tuning sequence, Space Chords into the Beat My Heart Skipped, and that's just a great video to listen to. Like when you want raw standstill power, you think of that video. You think of the Crown Lot tuning sequences. Like it's just, they're so good, and there's just so much raw power there in that horn line. And just being able to go from these like really just majestic chords into that slow, you have that couple beats of silence and you know what's going to hit you. You know that it's just going to be this amazing sound, this amazing chord. And it's just something that I would love to see in person, if not maybe even be a part of one day.
Yeah.
I mean, I really enjoyed Beat My Heart Skipped. I will say the opener, actually, I was part of a little project.
I know what it is.
One of the kids from Ronald Reagan High School down in San Antonio, no, I think they're close to the Houston area, but anywho, they came up with an arrangement for like the opener and the opening hit, and I thought that was really cool. I really love the opener.
So that's a funny little thing, Mitchell. I remember having to help you guys figure out how to actually record with the MP3.
Yeah.
So I want to hear how that went. You got to send it to me. Does anyone else have any comments or?
I'll just say again, I'll agree with Gavin. It's one of the few Blue Devil shows I've watched, but it's one of the ones I've liked because I'm not a huge Blue Devils fan, but
Me either.
I really liked it compared to the others. Pretty.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, it's a good show. I don't think anyone really has any gripes about it. Like, it's just good, hands down. That's it.
Yeah. Does Miles...
So, yeah. Moving on to my next and final show is Madison Scouts 1995. This isn't a show that most people know because Madison Scouts isn't like Blue Devils. They don't have that huge popularity through every single decade they've been a core.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely honest. I know the Madison Scouts, like the recent shows.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, they used to, but I really haven't. Like, I saw their last show when they broke into finals in 2017. Was that when they were in finals last?
I'm not too sure about all of that.
It was either that or
and then 2018 was meh, and 2019 I thought it was kind of cool. But I really haven't seen much of the old Madison Scouts.
Yeah, but the old Madison Scouts, they were a powerhouse of a core.
Yes, sir.
They were able to throw down at every performance. And I feel like 95 was one of their best years, like at all. They have just a phenomenal sound, and I don't know if it's one trumpet player or all of their trumpet players being able to just play so clean and together that it sounds like one. But their trumpets that year just have an amazing timbre that just sits on top of the band in the best way possible. Everything from the opener to the closer is just power, and it's just raw sound, and you just love it. And if you haven't heard it, I highly recommend listening to it. It might be a little hard to find a recording of it, being one of those older shows, but
There's one out there. I just watched it like last week. Yeah.
We have a Google Drive, remember?
Well, they don't
other
have it.
people, Mitchell.
Yeah, the other people don't have the Google Drive, Mitchell.
That's fair. I didn't really think about that.
yeah. And then it's just when I think of old drum corps, I think of that show, and I think of how just amazing that show is because of just the raw power, force that they have behind their sound. They don't have any props or any huge visual aspects. It's mostly a music show, in my opinion. But it sure is one hell of a music show.
Yeah, definitely back then, like those powerhouse corps, like Phantom Regiment when they were good, and like Cadets and Cavaliers, like all of those great corps back then, definitely just performed at a high level with music-wise. And I know Madison Scouts. I watched that show one time because I actually never watched it until you put it on your list, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. So when I watched it, I was like, okay, Madison. I wish you had that same thing now, but you sounded awesome. Great job. I don't know if anyone else has comments, but that's sort of my piece on it.
I mean, again, like you said, old drum corps, you think of Madison Scouts, you think of Crossman, you think of Cadets, you think of Sergeant Indiana. Phantom, exactly, yeah.
Suncoast.
You think of all these corps
Boston is such a good show.
like, it's like, oh my gosh. Like, you just think of old drum corps, and like, again, like Madison Scouts were one of the ones that were up there. Like, had this raw power like you were talking about. I mean, it was not rare, but it was hard to really have that, sound that you're talking about back in the day. When now it's very, okay, make sure that's in tune. Make sure that's, you know what I mean? Like, you're trying to battle with each other, being like, well, we haven't really seen that raw power in the core for a really long time like we did back then. It just hasn't really happened. And as much as it would be nice, maybe it's for the better, maybe it's for the not. I don't know. We don't really know until it comes back again and we see how it does. But I agree with you. Madison Scouts 95, 96, 97 were some really, really, really good years, as well as Phantom Regiment and, Crossman had a solid drum line those years as well. And just that old drum corps style is really, really, what attracts a lot of listeners.
Low-key miss it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that out of my four, as much as I love Downside Up, I will have to put Madison Scouts 95 as my top for these four.
Well, mine would be Downside Up. Does anyone else want to pick their winner
What favorite?
from this?
I'm gonna go with Crown.
So we
I
got
go with Crown too.
Oh, damn. Isaac?
I'm
Crown.
hard.
Come on.
I'll do Blue Devils.
I'm gonna say
what?
Madison 95.
Okay, all right. Now you go Blue Devils.
For this one, yeah.
I'm gonna say Madison 95.
You chose the wrong time to go Blue Devils.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
You chose.
For the three of you
I
that
liked
haven't
it.
listened to it, I highly recommend doing that.
Please.
Because you will be blown away. Just absolutely. And I am
Yeah.
you might change your mind. Maybe not Miles, because he's a big percussion guy, and I understand Crown 2019, phenomenal percussion show. But Mitchell, I feel like you will be swayed.
Really?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Huh. Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe a little extra sway could be thrown in there if someone were to shine a little bit of more of a positive light on Blue Devils 2018. But
No comment.
Get out.
Hey, listen, no, listen. I hope you know that the next two podcasts are going to get dirty because the next podcast is Isaac's and he has Felinius, and I hate that show with a passion. And then we go into Friday where Ink is, and I also hate Ink. Just like Dreams and Nighthawks.
And you can't hate.
Just like
are we going into Babylon too?
Yeah, we're going into Babylon.
Babylon's going to win that.
Ooh,
Babylon
yes.
is awesome. Babylon's a great show.
That's enough for now. We're gonna put that away for later.
No, listen.
Alright, guys.
Just like Ink and
More.
just like Dreams and Nighthawks, the best part of that show is the ending. Okay.
Yes, because the closer was
No,
the
after they release
the
quiet in the stadium.
Alright.
My God!
Alright, save it for next episode. We'll talk about this more. We'll fight on that episode of DCI Fight Week.
Dude, we're not gonna fight. We're gonna brawl.
But for now, this has been my 4. I think that majority wins over most of us agreeing on Madison Scouts 95. Mitchell, you better go listen to it. But anyway, thanks for listening, and this has been this episode of DCI Fight.
Join us tomorrow for Isaac's Top 4.